Greetings! I am Herbert Erperderp, and today I'm going to be building this Battlefront M10 tank destroyer platoon for Flames of War. I don't actually have an American army, but these can be used for British and Soviet forces, which is what I shall do. Upon opening the box we can see the 4 holes in their turrets, some plastic sprues for tracks, and a whole lot of metal parts for everything else. Magnets are also included, as are decals, though I probably won't be using these ones. The hulls and turrets are cleanly cast and are quite nicely detailed. You can see there is a lot of stuff like tools cast on. The inside of the turret is a bit featureless, but this would normally be covered or filled with crew. Didn't actually see anything on these that really needs cleaning up. For me, the first step is magnetization. Here's a quick tip. Once you've determined which way your magnets should be facing, colour them with a marker to prevent incorrect installation. You can then confidently glue the magnet into the convenient recess in the hull. The included magnets are quite thin and should fit between the hull and turret pieces quite easily, but you should always check first anyway. More work will be required if you want to use thicker, stronger magnets, but the included ones are fine for my purposes. I like to use the stack of magnets as a guide for gluing the turret magnet on. It helps ensure correct polarity. Now for the tracks. This plastic sprue is shared with Sherman tanks, so there are some free hatches and stuff for the bits box. I like these plastic tracks much better than the older metal ones. I'd love it if the rest of the metal components were also plastic. I find it's a much easier and nicer material to work with. The tracks did require a little bit of work to remove mold lines, but it isn't too bad at all. I didn't clean up the tops or bottoms of the tracks because they simply won't be visible. Now I glue the tracks on. There are helpful pins and slots to help you determine the correct placement of these. I think they look really good. Onto the turret, the back of which requires a counterweight. You get the choice of this smaller one or the bigger duckbill one. I chose the duckbill one because I think it looks cooler. The part didn't require much preparation other than some light filing, mostly to remove mold lines. Then it's just a matter of gluing it on. There we go, one duckbill counterweight. Quack, 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 quack. The kit comes with parts for a turret roof and crew members, but I decided not to use either of those. The American crews probably won't look right for British or Soviet crews, and I really don't like painting 15mm people if I can avoid it. Unfortunately, the metal guns in this kit were bent and not all that great, but there is a similar gun on the plastic sprue, so I decided to use these because they would take a little bit less work. I did break one of these, so a little bit of caution should be taken while clipping them from the sprue. I trimmed the plastic guns to the same length as the metal ones, and then cleaned them up with a file. Then simply glue the cannon in place, being careful to keep it straight. The final part on the turret is the machine gun. Take care while clipping this from the sprue. You can see the barrel bent a little bit for me, and it may snap. Parts like this are a pain to try and glue back together. I gave it a gentle clean up with a tiny file, and then I simply added glue and placed it into the hole. Done. Here's something that I thought was very cool. This kit comes with stowage. I would love it if they included a bit more so that I could cover my M10s with stuff, but this is still pretty good. I much prefer optional pieces of stowage rather than having it cast onto the model. It allows for a lot more variation, which is a good thing. Of course, being metal parts, they do require a fair amount of cleanup, but they are pretty good. Depending on how confident with green stuff you are, or how lazy you are, these would be a good starting point for sculpting additional stowage onto the vehicles. I may do that at some point in the future. Here's what I ended up with. I'm quite pleased with these models. They were very easy to build and didn't take long at all. My only problem is that I would prefer plastic parts to the metal ones, but you can't have everything. I'm sure Battlefront will be including more and more plastic going forward anyway. I've not actually decided if I want to paint these for a British or a Soviet army yet, but I think once I do make that decision they'll be quite nice to paint and should turn out pretty good. There will of course be a video to document the painting process, so subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see that when it happens. I hope this has been helpful to you in some way. Thanks for watching. Farewell.